Welcome to e-Gurukulam Classified. Today's topic is the 16th Finance Commission. It is due to be set up shortly. This topic is helpful in GS2 in polity in center-state relations and constitutional bodies, and in GS3 economy. Critical changes since 15th Finance Commission, November 2017 are: COVID-19 pandemic end. Subsequent geopolitical challenges. As a result, the combined government debt to GDP ratio had shot up close to 90% at the end of 2020 to 21. And many states show large fiscal imbalances too. The 14th Finance Commission had raised the share of states in the divisible pool of central taxes to 42% from 32%. This was revised to 41% when the number of states in India was reduced to 28. The heavy reliance on cesses and surcharges requires scrutiny by the 16th Finance Commission. One option is to freeze the share of cesses and surcharges to some base number. A 10% upper limit of the share of cesses and surcharges as a percentage of centre's gross tax revenue may be recommended. The share of states must be increased if the proportion crosses 10%. Issues of concern of 16th Finance Commission. Goods and Services Tax, GST. The poor performance of the Goods and Services Tax, GST. GST collections have maintained good buoyancy in the last 2 years. GST still needs restructuring to make it a good and simple tax. Divisible pool is a major concern. There is consequent decline in total divisible pool. The share of individual states in the centre's divisible pool of taxes is determined by a set of indicators that includes population, per capita income, area, and incentive-related factors such as forest cover and demographic change. Per capita income. It is the distance of a state's per capita income from a benchmark, usually kept at the average per capita income of the top 3 states, that is used as a determining factor. This distance criterion implies relatively larger shares for relatively lower income states. At present, per capita income has the highest weight of 45%. It had an even higher weight previously. Many of the richer states have argued for a lowering of the weight given to this criterion. Attention needs to be paid to the needs of the lower income states. These states are expected to provide a relatively larger share of demographic dividend to India in future provided attention is paid to the educational and health needs of their populations. It may be useful to freeze the weight to distance criterion at the current level or even reduce it to 40%. Some upward adjustment in the resources transferred to the poorer states may be done through grants. Implementation of Equalization principle. Instead of using a large number of tax devolution criteria, the transfer of resources to individual states may be guided by the equalization principle using a limited number of criteria such as population, area and distance, supplemented by a suitable scheme of grants. The equalization principle is consistent with both equity and efficiency. The basic consideration of reflecting needs, costs of providing services, and equity considerations can all be reflected through these 3 criteria, provided there is more fine-tuning. Recommendations. The 12th Finance Commission had recommended a target of 28% consistent with an underlying nominal GDP growth of 12%. The adjustment needed for the central government is larger than that for state governments. A few state governments appear to have relatively larger debt and fiscal deficit numbers relative to their GSDPs. In this context, 2 concerns appear. Times these relate to the proliferation of subsidies. Times the reintroduction of the old pension scheme in states without a clear identification of the sources of financing and the resultant fiscal burdens. Often, such subsidies are sought to be financed by raising the fiscal deficit. Reforms worth pursuing. One innovation to set up a loan council, as recommended by the 12th Finance Commission. This independent body should oversee the loan magnitudes and profiles of the central and state governments. The 16th Finance Commission should examine the subject of non-merit subsidies in detail. The exclusion of unjustified subsidies while determining grants or should be avoided. And make sure the Finance Commission not to be caught in political crossfire. The Finance Commission should be strict about states maintaining fiscal deficit within limits. It should provide carrots to states maintaining fiscal deficit and sticks for those that exceed fiscal deficit limits. So we need to wait for the setup of commission for overall perspective. Hope this content is helpful for your preparation. Meet you tomorrow with new burning topic. Till then, stay tuned to e-Gurukulam Classified.